I'm muted. Welcome back to the Modern Streamers League. I'm joined tonight with the Dive Down podcast, Stanislav and Dave Harbinger. Harbarger. Oh, man. I knew I was going to mess that up. Either way, Modern Streamers League semifinals tonight. We've had a lot of eliminations in the last little bit. We are down to just a couple players. Myself included got eliminated last night. So we are down to Drake Sasser, Ghost Empire, Capolo, and Aspiring Spike. 4 out of the 16 players who started in this triple elimination tournament. But more importantly, there's some really great guests right next to me. Stanislav and Dave, how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be back.
I'm excited for my first time. Stoked.
Yeah, we were telling Dave, listen, the podcast is a start, but next we need to take over this Modern Streamers League, and we can't do this without you.
And I'm here to lend some gray hair to these beards because, man, you guys, this is a great beard lineup tonight. Look at this.
I tried to do. I'm a little bit more mustache today.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's summer in the city.
Exactly.
Summer somewhere.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here tonight, and the deck lineup looks great. What people have left that they have access to, I'm excited to talk about these, and hopefully give a little bit of our Dive Down patented, easy to answer questions.
Who is the best Modern Streamers League player? Well, you'll have the answer to that in a little bit, hopefully. Our finals are actually airing tomorrow, with the semifinals airing tonight. So just a quick recap of how this tournament works. Each player entered with 3 modern decks. When they lose with a particular deck, that deck is eliminated from the tournament. So players tonight don't necessarily have too many decks left. Capolo still has all 3 of his decks. So Drake Sasser has got 2. Aspiring Spike 1 and Ghost Empire only 1. So having more decks going into a match is a huge advantage because you can actually metagame against your opponent pretty well. Oh, my opponent only has this deck. I have 3. Which deck do I choose to defeat them with? Huge advantage for winning early in the Modern Streamers League, which is kind of the way it should be in life. Kind of winning just kind of steamrolls, just like you guys have been winning a lot with your podcast. Where can we hear that podcast, by the way?
Dave, where do you usually listen to the Dive Down?
You know, I am an Apple person. I'm a graphic designer, so I live that Mac life. And so you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us at thedivedown.com, which directs you to our hosting service called Fireside FM if you want to listen in browser. Those are all great places to find us. Mm-hmm. We are on YouTube as well if you prefer your media there. We have youtube.com/thedivedown as well.
And the Dive Down, is that 3 words, 1 word? Is it all capital? All capital letters? I never really.
It's camel case.
Wow. It's all 1 word, especially when we put it out there for different codes and things like that. Yeah, and if your weekly podcast, we try to address our content towards the casual spike. So if you haven't checked us out before, comes out on Fridays. We have our episode this week is actually about Pioneer. It is a deep dive, which is where we talk about a single deck for 2 hours, essentially. So if you want to hear a bunch of people's reactions to playing with a single deck, we're going to be talking about the Jeskai Luca Agent of Treachery Fires deck in Pioneer. This week.
Is a scoop.
Yes.
You heard it here first.
I love to tease people. So there's a spoiler for this week if you're listening.
We very seldom announce that early.
The Dive Down. I just want to shout out that your deep dives are my favorite episodes of the Dive Down. When you guys all play a deck for a week and talk about like what you liked, what you didn't like, and how you felt. It reminds me of like when I chat with my friends about a specific deck and we're all talking about what we like and don't like about it, but if my friends and I all played the same deck, so it's even better. So I really that's actually my favorite segment that you guys do. And some of your guests happen to be some players here, like Aspiring Spike, Yama Killer, all friends of your show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everett was actually on 2 weeks ago. So if you want to check out an episode of our show that he's on, check out, I think, episode 73.
Okay. Definitely check
It
out
was a
those
good app.
past episodes. Does that mean you guys are rooting for Aspiring Spike to win out here? Because he's the only, I believe, friend of your show left in this tournament of 4 players left.
Any of the 4 of them could be friends of ours if they win.
Only if they win. Man, if I had just won before, if I had beat Aspiring Spike last night, I could have been a friend of the Dive Down.
Hmm.
Maybe.
You're a special friend in a different way, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're like that person who gets a degree from the university for doing something great, not actually going to university.
All right, I'll
Yeah.
take that. It's like Steven Spielberg, like submitting, what is movies instead of getting a film degree, basically like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
We're both Jewish. I'll take that.
Hey, me too.
Hey, there
Shalom.
we go. So the first
Not
matchup we have.
I can't be perfect. Sorry, guys.
Not everyone can be.
Yeah.
We have Amulet Titan against Eldrazi Tron. Let's see. Drake Sasser against Ghost X Empire. His last deck is Eldrazi Tron, so pretty darn sure Drake's gonna be on Amulet Titan, which absolutely crushes Eldrazi Tron. We will follow that up with Capolo on the fast track to the finals against the winner of that match. That player will have to beat Capolo twice, and if they do, they advance to the finals. Otherwise, if Capolo wins, he's in the finals guaranteed. Following that, we'll go from the elimination bracket up for the last slot into the finals. So Capolo just needs, if he just wins 2 more, one tonight and one tomorrow, he would be the MSL champion. Other players like Aspiring Spike would have a much harder route to that victory, but we'll have to watch and see and find out. But Drake Sasser against Ghost X Empire is our first match of the night. So if you guys are ready, we can hop right into that in just a minute.
Let's roll the dice.
All right. So we'll show you the updated brackets, give you a cool little segment of Ian Katz music, and we'll hop right in there. Quick reminder, the Modern Streamers League is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and Card Hoarder. We'll be back in just a minute.
Game on.
Here we go. All right, so we're seeing Drake's hand here.
Mm-hmm.
Stan, you've got some amulet experience. What do you think about this one? Got an amulet.
You got an amulet, and you can even get it down on turn 1 because of that radiant fountain, which seems nice. You're a little slow to get those Sakura tribe scouts
Online. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think might be the toughest decision about keeping this hand. However, we might be looking at turn 3 Titan, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the question here just comes down to like if they think that's going to be enough to get through, and it likely is. I mean, Drake does know what deck what deck Ghost Empire is on.
Yeah.
So
and likewise, Drake probably knows that they're favored in this matchup, right? It's just a matter of trying to get that Titan out faster than they get a Reality Smasher, hopefully, or maybe getting Valakut online.
Yeah. And keep in mind, there aren't really any main deck answers in Eldrazi Tron 2 Titan. It runs 2 Dismember. It has all his dust, but that's a long way off, especially if, given that Titan can get on turn 3. Interesting to see where this will go.
And it's a keep, right? Yeah, we kept that hand.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so Eldrazi Tron, what are their answers to Amulet?
Yeah, Blast Zone is the big answer to Amulet, and maybe that's where we're going to go with Expedition Map as fast as we can, if we can get there in time. But as we pointed out, it doesn't take too much extra to be able to get Titan out from here.
Right.
And so we know that there's a bounce land in Drake's hand, and it's just a question of if we can do that before Blast Zone gets online. Drawing the Field of the Dead is interesting. That does kind of push us in a certain direction potentially. It's a good way to go wide against Eldrazi Tron.
Yeah, totally. And that's one of Tron's weaknesses.
Right.
I think just these go wide decks because they're counting on, these singular big tall threats.
Yeah.
And I do love that Sasser's hand here is a little thought not seer proof.
Right.
Even if they take out that Titan, you still have 2 packs to find more.
Yeah, and we're not getting Thought Not out too soon, right? Maybe next turn, but it wasn't going to be a turn 1/1 after or a turn 2/1 after the tower went down on turn 1.
Right.
Okay. So here's the big turn here for Drake. Turn 3, figuring out how to sequence it to get a Titan out. We'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I think we can see Sasser doing the mental math.
Mm-hmm. This deck is super intimidating for me. I have never tried to pilot Amulet, but I have lost to it so many times. I feel like there's a ton of people in the same boat as me who are kind of like, I don't really know if I'm going to ever try this deck out, but I wish that I had a better idea of how to play against it a lot of times. I always feel kind of like I have a handle against it too when I'm not playing it. And then I sit down and I'm like, wait, what do they have access to? And like, how is this going to work? And,
how did they beat my Blood Moon?
Yes, there's a question.
They always seem to. All right, so we have to activate this Tribe Scout, bring out this land. I actually think this, what is it, Vesuva,
Mm-hmm.
is really clutch here at making sure that they get that Titan out. Because now we can make... do they have to pack for an Azusa first, Dave?
Yeah, I think in order to make an additional land drop, we're going to have to go that way.
Right. Because once we get Azusa, we can probably bring in that Vesuva again, make another copy of the of that Guru land. So one of Tron's outs against the current play is Dismember.
Right.
Although it feels like Drake is kind of playing around it.
I'm just impressed with all the triggers.
Yeah, they're on autopilot at this point.
There we go.
They've done the math.
Okay. Oh, and it's just a scoop.
Scoop.
Okay.
Tron cannot beat Primeval Titan once it's resolved. Maybe a hand with like double Dismember.
So here we are checking out the deck list, which is actually the same thing that I was just doing, was taking a look at what might come in from Ghost Empire's deck to combat Titan. I mean, clearly one thing they're thinking about, but not going to do because it's in their sideboard is, Torpor Orb is a good card that's in the sideboard, but you want to get that with Karn the Great Creator anyway. So I don't know if there's a bunch of cards that are coming in the limited experience that I've had with Eldrazi-tron. You're not really sideboarding in a ton of cards because you have so many good targets for Karn in your sideboard, right? So it looks like Ghost Empire has a lot of stuff to help with graveyard decks in Relic of Progenitus. A couple of extra removal spells might come in. There's two spatial contortion here that might come in to help with those as early Azusa draws. Unfortunately, they don't do anything against Dryad of the Elysian Grove, which is one of the big things about Titan at this point, right? Is that Titan was already good, and then Dryad of the Elysian Grove was printed, and now it became possible for Amulet Titan variants to run Valakut much more consistently, and where before they didn't really have access to that combo all the time, and now they do. They have multiple axes of attacks, and it's just a tough deck, especially in someone who's practiced with it a lot. So what's Drake thinking about bringing in here? We got Rex Sage coming in.
Yeah, probably to deal with those chalices. One of the decisions that I love in this matchup is whether or not you keep your packs, because it's kind of the one card that's soft to Tron's Chalice of the Voids.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're keeping the packs, just maybe getting rid of Pact of Negation, just because you sort of need that Summoner's Pact, not only to fuel like your Amulet plays, but I'm sorry, your Titan plays, but it's just so integral to the strategy.
Yeah.
And then you hope to find another answer to that Chalice.
Taking out some Tribe Scouts. Scouts are also vulnerable, of course, to creature removal, so I could see going down on those a little bit, just to try to just since I imagine there's a good chance that Ghost Empire is up on removal a little bit after sideboard. Don't need the Bajuka Bog. See you later. Yeah, bring in Field of the Dead instead. Yeah, I mean, the watchword here really, I mean, one thing that I think viewers should keep in mind is that Drake didn't kind of change the composition of his deck to include Dismember, which is something that kills a lot of targets in Eldrazi-tron, because he just wants to combo off, right? And so it's not about trying to win via killing a Reality Smasher if it gets out. Drake just wants to win through whatever threats are presented by Eldrazi-tron. So he doesn't care about trying to neutralize them at all.
So we open a one-lander with the Castle of Garenbrig, which does come in tapped if they don't draw a forest.
Yeah, I mean...
But they are also looking at double amulets, which is just one of the most busted things that amulet players can have in their opening hand.
Yeah, there's a second problem with this a little bit. It's just that even if you do have double amulet, you don't have a bounce land to be able to really power it up, right? So you need to draw into a lot. But Drake did keep it. I'm not an experienced pilot of this deck by any means, so curious to see where this goes.
When you have a game to lose, maybe you can do these high risk, high reward plays, especially if you know your favorite in the matchup.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't find the land, but let's just start playing amulets.
Sure.
So right now, Pact.
We're going into a lot of mana here, right? We got a Karn coming down. They can go grab Torpor Orb right now if they want to. I'm not sure if that's going to be the target, but they could always try to go for liquid metal coating, which it looks like is what they did. Yeah.
I mean, I guess one of the ways that Etron gets to beat Titan is if Titan doesn't find its mana.
That happens with most decks, right? But this definitely twists the knife.
Yeah.
If we're going towards just.
All right. So Sasser finds Field of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
But they cannot activate their Castle Garenbrig because it was targeted by a liquid metal coating. And with Karn on the board, that land cannot tap for mana.
Brutal play. I was just excited for when Ghost Empire was going to kill the land. I forgot about the fact that they could neutralize it by targeting with liquid metal coating and using Karn's old static.
Yeah, and Sasser does have Reclamation Sage in their hand right now, which is one of their key outs in this matchup. But if they can't cast it,
no, they're a long way from casting it.
At least a couple turns, yeah. Because they can't even play Explore unless they draw another land. So we'll probably just play Amulet.
I mean, you still got to play cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this is a tough spot, but Drake doesn't seem to be sweating it yet.
Yeah, Drake's forehead, very dry.
Mine is less dry. It is hot. It's hot.
Warm.
And my air conditioning is broken, as I've complained about frequently this week. So.
Oh, and now we start losing lands.
Yes.
I think we're going to game 3. Personally, but I don't know.
You gotta.
I think if Sasser just starts top decking Guru Land after Guru Land, we may.
Oh,
we may have
the ineffable. Here it comes.
Colorless spells you cast cost 2 more. 2 less to cast. I'm sorry.
One time. We're thinking here. I mean, you really needed to get some kind of something that generated green mana. Pulling a bounce land here would have been huge. Would have been able to generate a lot of mana off of it. Maybe get your Dryad out and then kind of go from there. I don't think it would have been enough to get the Titan. Check my math, Twitch chat. But
drawing the Vesuva would. Right. Well, I think if Sasser finds the bounce land, then they can get Titan online.
Because through the same play as game 1, kind of where either you play Dryad or you packed for Azusa.
Exactly.
And there it goes. That's a game. I think I'm realizing that I lost to Ghost Empire that screen name recently.
Me too.
Crushed.
That's so funny you should say that, because I even commented, I got into the chat and said that Guar rules, because I believe it's a Guar reference.
That's funny.
Dave, I'm going to open my blinds. Cover for me.
I will. I'm leaving my blinds shut. I like being in a dark room. All right, what are we changing up for game 3 here? So took out explosives. Looks like we're thinking about bringing in some extra threats and some dismembers.
Yeah, Tireless Tracker is interesting. Gets you through your deck with the clues, gets really big. Eventually it'll outclass a Thought Not Seer, maybe a Reality Smasher.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're keeping it streamlined and going for the combo. Huh. Okay.
Oh,
much better.
Snap Maul.
Yeah.
Snap Maul. Oh, this is a great hand.
Yes, this is a great hand.
This is a great hand that's looking for a payoff. But the mana engine is definitely online. Turn 1 Amulet. Turn 2 Sakura Tribe Scout.
Hope.
How quickly do you think Sasser can get their Titan out? Turn 3? If we find either Titan or Pact, yeah.
I'm really curious to know if Ghost Empire left Chalice in. Just because, after game 1, you might think that the Amulet player is going to potentially take Pact out, even though it's a high, it's a risky play to do that. I just wonder if there's a little bit of leveling going on, or if we might see a Chalice on 0 come and make this hand a whole lot worse.
I think Sasser's really struggling over the decision of what to put away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're looking at getting rid of that Field of the Dead and just hope to find it later.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Field of the Dead seems like the longest away from coming online in any form, and you'd really rather search that up with a Titan anyway, I think, generally. So that makes a ton of sense to me.
Sure. I can see the challenge.
Hey, look at that.
Hello, Darkness, my old friend.
Drake asked for one time last game and was rewarded this game. It's just the line was busy, Drake, but we're glad you kept ringing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. And the other thing here, as you mentioned before, is they Ghost did not lead out on Eldrazi Temple, so there is no way that we're getting Thought-Knot Seer on turn 2 on their side. So,
right at this point, the Titan might actually outrace even a turn 3 Thought-Knot.
Yep.
For someone who I think is in a favored matchup and has a great plan in their hand, Sasser looks like they're really, really sweating over this decision and feeling vulnerable.
This is hard, though, right? I mean, he's on camera with us.
Mm-hmm.
And
the very inscrutable dive down co-hosts.
Yeah, exactly. And, doesn't have any voice, and so kind of emoting to be able to let us know how they're feeling at different points in the match. Like, I'm here for the performance,
Oh sure. So if Sasser untaps with that Tribe Scout, maybe even without they have Titan out.
Yeah.
Right, because they can Summoner's Pact for Azusa or Dryad at this point. When in doubt, Dave, here's something I've learned about Titan matchups. When in doubt, Pact for Azusa or better yet, Dryad, and just carry that home. Carry that all the way to Titan Town.
That's what you've learned from this matchup tonight?
It's the one thing I've learned playing against Titan a million times. Also, you need like 4 hate pieces and some disdainful strokes for a chance.
You are a man who loves a disdainful stroke. It's true.
That's true. It's why we play Modern and Pioneer, because it's legal in both formats.
All right, doing the math right now. I mean, can play a Titan right now. The question is just whether they want to go grab anything else.
Right. I mean, probably just grabbing more Titans, right? It's best clock.
It is a little bit of insurance for future turns, maybe, to go and get your Dryad or something like that. You get Dryad online, you can start working towards a Valakut plan in addition to Titans. So,
right, especially if Ghost is being crazy and keeping double Dismember.
Yeah. I do really feel still looking at an Amulet Titan player's hand. I'm like, those are cool cards. What do they do again? It's like I need to go get my postgraduate degree in Titan-based combo decks.
I have a question for you, Dave. So one thing that's interesting about this matchup is that it's 2 non-companion modern decks.
Yeah.
Which right, like in this
a little bit of a
age,
rarity right now.
Yeah, exactly. Do you feel like this is good old-fashioned fair magic?
Oh, this is 100% old-fashioned modern at any rate. Like, I mean, these are decks that have been around for years. Both of them are improving over time and getting more powerful over time. especially in the last year or so. But good old decks, It's nice to see a matchup like this in the first round. I'll be curious to see how many of the new kind of companion-y builds that we get. And who knows, given the tweets that we've seen lately, maybe there's a chance that this is one of the last tournaments that we all get to watch where companions behave the way that they behave now.
That's also true.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing that the Modern Streamers League current season is ending this week before they change the companion rule, because that could have potentially nerfed a lot of players' decks.
Yeah. Well, so, everybody would be moving into freeform queues suddenly to be able to play their matches.
Mm-hmm. I've never gone to the freeform queue.
So we got Hammer Battlements up to be able to get our hasty primetime up.
Well, do we have red mana? We sure do.
We're about to.
Yeah, thanks to Dryad. And then once you have Dryad and a Swinging Titan, I think you can start to pick up your Valakites and just expedite the clock that way.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get a couple things here, right? We're going to get an extra drop. We're going to be able to get a red mana off of it, regardless of what it is. We got the red left over anyway. There you go. Oh, here comes. Oh. Yeah.
It's the classic stall. Try to make Sasser's life a little harder by interrupting the thought process.
All right, so here's the question that I always have in this moment. We got an Amulet out. We got a Titan swinging. It's turn 3. Can we do enough here? Oh, here's all the triggers.
The answer, David, was yes. We can do enough here.
Yep. There you go. All right. Well, congrats to Drake Sasser. Their first match of the night tonight went a little bit according to plan, right? Except for game 2 that we had Eldrazi Chan jump out way ahead thanks to liquid metal coating. The oddly named not liquid metal coating, but who am I to say?
That one land hand. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a brutal one.
The big mana decks, they need their mana.
Shocking. Exciting to get to see a Amulet Titan deck in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing, while kind of like watching, getting to see their thoughts and their plays going through it. There's always more to do with that deck than I think it feels like at first to me, as someone who's not really a pilot of it. So it's cool to see how they get the maximum value out of every turn that they have. I mean, we just saw a turn 3 kill, right? Which is amazing.
Really well set up in that the big thing that Drake did there was he played around Dismember, or that other removal spell that Eldrazi Tron's running.
Spatial Contortion in the sideboard.
Yep. It's a Spatial Contortion. He played around both of those at the end there. I think we just lost Stanislav for a moment, but played around both of those beautifully and timed it so that he could put it into play, held priority, and then put his land drop into play. Where if he did that, if he missequenced any of those, and if Ghost X Empire was holding on to a Dismember, could have disrupted the entire play pattern and put Drake in a really bad spot. But Ghost Empire eliminated from the tournament now. Drake moves on to challenge Capolo for the right to play in the championship.
Wow. Okay. So just to one more time. So Capolo has 3 decks left. Drake has 2, right? Yep. So they are, whichever one of them wins this round is going to be one of the finalists.
So glad you asked, because it's actually a little more complicated than that. Great question. If Capolo wins, because Capolo is 3-0 or undefeated, then Capolo's in the championship. If Drake wins, they play again. And if Drake wins again, then Drake's in the championship. Capolo only has to win one of their potential 2 matches. But if Drake wins twice, he's in the championship, and Capolo will have 2 losses, will fall down to the elimination bracket and be playing Aspiring Spike for that last spot in the championship. So the last 3 players we have are Capolo, Drake, and Aspiring Spike.
Okay.
So the way don't know how many matches we'll see here between Capolo and Drake right now, but if Drake wins, we will have a rematch. And then the loser of that, if there is a second one, will be playing Aspiring Spike for that last slot in the elimination bracket.
Awesome. Okay, we got a couple of exciting matches coming up as we winnow down to the finalists. And we're going to see it would be so wild to see two people play against each other 2 matches in a row where someone has to choose a different deck for the second match, and maybe even both of them. So awesome. Well, should we hit pause for a second, try to get Stanislav back on, and then
we're going to go to a quick break, try to see if we can get Stan back, and then we're going to jump back into hopefully with Stan, jump back into Capolo against Drake Sasser in the winner's bracket. So we'll be back in just a moment, hopefully with Stanislav.
Here we are.
I'm back, chat. Don't worry.
We did get some text messages just now that said, "Is Stan okay? Was Stan raptured?"
My loyal fans.
So we are watching Capolo on the 4-color shadow side of this matchup. Unsure what we're looking at on the other side. 4-color shadow is a deck that I definitely have played some. The really interesting thing about Capolo's list here, to me anyway, is that it's not running the hot new Croxa build. It's not running the Sprite Dragon build or something like that. It is running a 4-color build with 3 Snapcaster Mages in it. This is quite an interesting kind of question of whether you keep this hand or not. Double Bauble with no lands is, to me, too risky.
Yeah. Risky but tempting, isn't it?
It's tempting because you have double redraw off of it, but I can't ever get myself to do that. In a way, this hand is kind of worse because you really don't want 4 lands in shadow either. But the fact is, we got to redraw. Yeah, we'll discard 1. You could keep this Nurturing Peatland and cash it in later. For my money, Nurturing Peatland was a big upgrade to playing the kind of green-black versions of Shadow instead of the blue-black versions of Shadow. And so it's one of the things I've enjoyed as I've kind of dabbled around with this towards the end of last year. Having an early traverse is helpful too, especially if you feel like there's a chance that you're going to get a removal target against the deck that you are playing. Now, Capolo doesn't know which deck he's up against, and we won't reveal it quite yet until we see what Drake plays first. All right, he binned the Peatland.
Oh, it was
a double maul.
Oh, okay. I didn't even realize.
We must have missed the first one. Sorry about that, chat. Okay, so we're down a little bit. Obviously, Mull to 5 is not a situation anybody wants to be in, but we do have the awesome kind of build your own opt game that you get to play here. Do you want to draw a Stubborn Denial? We're going to go for it in the dark. You know, Drake, I mean, Capolo knows that Drake has Jund and also Amulet left. So it's a 50-50 shot for which he has. Now we all know what deck Drake is playing. It is Jund. So it's Lurrus, it's a Lurrus mirror match here. It's Lurrus Jund versus Lurrus Shadow, which is kind of Jund.
Yeah, it's hard to even keep track of which decks I'm looking at. I do recall Once Upon a Time when Once Upon a Time was in the format.
Oh man,
that some of these like traverse shadow decks were super aggressive, and it looks to me now like Capolo's deck is much more mid-rangey.
Yeah, Capolo's deck, I believe, is definitely built to be a more kind of grindy deck. I mean, with Lurrus there, with Snapcaster Mage in the main, that's definitely the type of thing that you're looking at, is trying to get ahead on card advantage. And I think that, after, the discussion we talked about when Spike was on the Aspiring Spike was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. And on that episode, we talked for a long time about how Lurrus has led to these kind of really kind of more slow, kind of grindy mid games that I feel like when I saw Capolo's deck list, I felt like Snapcaster Mage was a good way to kind of add a little bit of extra oomph to that same thing.
All right, so
we got a Thoughtseize for Dark Confidant there.
Yeah. I like that we're holding up Fatal Push and Stubborn Denial here.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what the opponent plays. Yeah, I keep flipping back and forth between these Jund and Shadow decks and trying to make sense of who's who. It's a lot of Tarmogoyfs, Dave.
It is a lot of Tarmogoyfs. Here comes Kroxa.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a bummer to have to discard a card here.
Especially after mulligans, yeah.
Yeah. Rough stuff. Fortunately, it does look like... fortunately for Capolo anyway, it does look like Drake is a good amount away from having another threat. For one thing, they don't have one in their hand, and also from getting a Kroxa back out. You have to get a couple of lands, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see. We do have Traverse online right now. We have 4 card types in our graveyard, so there's a chance that we do a little bit of searching here.
And so Capolo drew their single Tarfire, Dave. Is Tarfire in these decks just to have another card type for your Traverse and your Tarmogoyfs?
Yeah, 100%. It's actually a card that I generally skip building or skip including in the builds that I play. I just haven't always felt like I really needed to have it to make it happen, but it is nice to have an extra thing to, as you said, turn on your Delirium. Yeah, I kind of figured we go for Tarmogoyf here.
It's also pretty good against like Lurrus specifically,
Yes. It's definitely better now than it used to be, where it was just kind of like, hey, it's a burn spell that enables me a little bit.
Yeah, but now that we're in an era of Seal of Fire
being main deckable.
Tarfire is looking a little not so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting in that in this deck we chose to. I'm looking at the 4-color shadow list again. Oh, there is. I was going to say that there's not a one of Seal of Fire, but there is a one of Seal. So,
mm-hmm.
All right, here comes Lurrus. And there goes Lurrus off the Tarfire, but he does get a redraw. Baubles everywhere. Okay, here we go. I mean, the big thing here is that, Capolo does know that Drake has an Assassin's Trophy in hand, and does know that there's also a Kolaghan's Command. So there's going to be a question of like, who do I want to kill something? Do I want to spend the turn recurring my own threat? Maybe we'll play a couple of cards here.
Yeah, they brought out that Luris when all they were able to get was that bauble, right?
Yeah.
Feels pretty aggressive. Makes me wonder if they're just holding on to an Unearth, maybe draw out a removal spell.
So this is an interesting move here to me in that we're going to play the blocker. Of course, Drake does not know Capolo's hand, but we're going to play the Mirror Tarmogoyf here, and we're going to have a Seal of Fire up so that we can have our Tarmogoyf win combat, right? But Capolo has the Fatal Push, so we're going to get a hit in here at least. The kind of medium problem here is that Drake is able to still Assassin's Trophy the Goyf, now is able to bring back Kroxa or do Culligan's Command to get back Luris if they want to. So there's a lot of lines of play available here.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to go towards Kroxa to try to get that card out of Capolo's hand, but I'm not 100% sure on that. He's just going to leave the mana up. Okay, so we're probably thinking more about keeping up Assassin's Trophy or Culligan's Command, of course. 2 unknown cards in hand, too, at this point.
Right, and I wonder if Capolo brings out their Luris to get their bauble as well, just because they can.
I think that if we didn't want to keep Fatal Push up, we might consider it, but I would rather have the removal handy in case I needed it. You also don't want to lose your removal to Luris. Now he's going to lose it to Culligan's Command instead, but sorry, to Kroxa, I meant. You don't want to lose your removal to Kroxa. Wow. Oh, man. Rough. Okay. It's a valiant fight, but now we're starting to fall behind on card advantage. This is where we bring... Interesting, we did not decide to bring back Luris yet, or cast our own Luris yet. I'm just really empathizing with Capolo here, so...
Was there a Luris in their hand?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, just brought back from Culligan's Command.
Oh.
That's how it got there. So the Culligan's Command was bring back a creature and discard, so it got that last Fatal Push out of Capolo's hand and got Luris back. All right, here we are. It's Drake's turn. Got a bunch of mana up. I think this looks like a Kroxa to me, but yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, Kroxa is interesting. On the one hand, it dies to Fatal Push, but that 6 power that just keeps coming back.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, it keeps coming back, and Capolo doesn't have any cards in hand anyway, so it's going to be extremely rough. I mean, like Dismember just entered the revealed cards area. Yeah. Hard cast into Dismember, I think. I don't know.
So Capolo's about to draw the Dismember. I see.
Yeah.
Otherwise, opponent would have just had lethal thanks to Seal of Fire.
Right. Still going to take some damage off of the Seal, the newly tiny Titan, and also Seal of Fire later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, Capolo.
I don't think that Kroxa is coming back this game unless it goes on for another couple turns, just because filling up that graveyard is going to be pretty hard.
Well, I mean, it's not dead, though, because Dismember's not enough to kill it.
Oh, good point.
Right? Like, it's a 6/6, so... and that's game. I mean, we did know that the other Seal of Fire was in Drake's hand. I forgot about that, so... Here's your game. Okay.
So, how good do you think Stubborn Denial is in this matchup? Do you just need it to protect your threats from removal?
I mean, that's what Stubborn Denial is in here for. Crucially, one thing that I think it could also help with, this is going to be another like card advantage kind of bar fight basically, and Stubborn Denial can get your opponent's Culligan's Command And so I think that that's pretty important too, is to keep them from getting their Luris back, to keep them from doing kind of whatever they want to do, make you discard a card and even do 2 damage or something. But looks like he's thinking about taking it out. Yep. Going down on him a little bit. So I thought it would be pretty good, but
maybe getting that ferocious is one of the challenges here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Veil of Summer, of course, is a big thing to bring in here, which is huge because it draws you a card. So, you know, it protects you from your opponent's Thoughtseizes too. And so I miss that the Veils came in. Makes a ton of sense. So we got a little mixed package of Stubborn Denial and Veil. I mean, Veil is basically the card, as you know. I mean, you bring it in almost every matchup in sideboarding. There's so many decks that it's good against.
Yeah.
You know, we've got Nihil Spell Bombs as well that were not main before. Yeah. Try to help keep that Luris engine from being online. And you can imagine that Drake is probably sideboarding in a very similar way. You know, Nihil Spellbomb's coming in, Veil of Summer's coming in. I think that might be all that I would expect out of Drake's deck, unless, I mean, Engineered Explosives against Death Shadow you could consider, but I'm not sure if he's too worried about that in this matchup. He's got plenty of other ways to kill cards.
Do we bring in the extra copy of Assassin's Trophy? Maybe replace Maelstrom Pulse with it?
Probably just because you don't have any reason. You're not worried about multiple permanents of the same name too often.
Right.
I think probably, but
I think best case there is maybe getting 2 Tarmogoyfs.
Right. Or 2, yeah.
Or 2 Death Shadows. Yeah.
Yeah. But for 3 mana at sorcery speed, you're probably better off with the instant. But we'll find out. All right, Capolo took a mull on that first hand. Maybe liking this one a little bit better, binning the Traverse.
I like it. You have your lands, you have your threats, you even have something to snap back.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find more of whatever that Traverse is going to get anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Capolo is probably just how do I maximize the number of cards that I'm getting, and you know, Traverse might just cost too much time. Right now, it's going to take a while to set up. You already have a Tarmogoyf, like you said. Yeah, thanks, Capolo. We appreciate the giant cards in hand. I can read it from across the room now. It's perfect. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I love that Capolo's being a little conservative with this fetch land, either waiting to find a shadow or just playing it safe.
Those Inquisitions
mid-range mirrors
sure are downer. Yeah. Yeah, mid-range mirror. It's like, let's pick apart each other's hands. This is particularly brutal, though.
Yeah, and next turn, Drake is probably going to cash in one, if not both, of those Inquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
Tarmogoyf is gone. Probably Snapcaster Mage is gone.
Yeah. I mean, went with the line where we're like, we're going to take your removal.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes double Inquisition, there's really nothing else to do here other than just, of course, take the 2 creatures. There's one. I want to know what's in your hands. You know what's in my hand now. I will say, when I was talking with Michael Rapp, who's a kind of well-known Shadow player, about how important that information is, it's something that I didn't realize until after playing Shadow for a while, is just how good it is just to know what's in your opponent's hand. It's, you know, when I played a lot of Paper back when Thoughtseize was in Standard, sometimes I would be lazy and like not write down my opponent's hand, and that's just like the worst thing you can ever do.
Right.
And Magic Online makes it so easy. Capolo says bye-bye. Sorry.
All right, this top deck feels very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's a good chance that it's some kind of enabler, right? Like Misha's Bauble, at least you get kind of a little bit of card selection here, but it's not really what you're looking.
Well, that Bauble, I think, is just going to draw them 2 cards now because you can Bauble Lurrus Bauble.
Ah, great point. Yeah, they're tapped out, so that does help. Man, companions.
Can't forget them.
Also, I mean, it might just rocket him back to being back in this game a little bit.
Yeah. There was a while when companions were first introduced that I had to break out the little companion zone thing in MTGO and just keep it next to my hand. So I always remembered. I don't have to do that anymore. I've gotten so used to them. I'm going to be upset when they take them away from us. No, I won't. Just kidding.
Are you going on record with that right now? We've been very ambivalent about the Great Companion controversy. We've tried to present both sides.
Yeah. Oh,
we left
kept
Maelstrom
Pulse.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be sad if I don't get to play Obosh anymore in Ponza.
I do like that deck a lot too. Sorry, there's no Bosch in these final decks for you, Stan.
No Bosch. I don't think I even saw any pawns in among all the tournament decks.
So we have a lot. Capola just drew a couple of great cards there. We got a Kolaghan's Command now. We got a Stubborn Denial, a Fatal Push. It's a pretty big turnaround that just came off of Lurrus there.
Fluffy Wolf. Fluffy Wolf had a Luca Monsters red-green deck.
Nice. The one that kind of
cheats out Emrakul.
Polymorphs into Emrakul, yeah.
Yeah. On brand for Fluffy Wolf.
Now this is super rough. So what Drake did is play the Nihil Spellbomb, making it so that Capolo couldn't cast Kolaghan's Command without something else going on, and then Thoughtseize so that couldn't cast Kolaghan's Command in response. So what's going to happen now is we're going to get a removal and a discard, or a Raise Dead and a discard, and then the Nihil Spellbomb is going to get cracked.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's the type of thing that you couldn't really do otherwise without the Thoughtseize, and it's just kind of like an extra dimension to it. Now you lose half of the card's value off of Kolaghan's Command. Drake's drawn a card because of the Nihil Spellbomb. Mm-hmm. Still going to get a card out of Capolo's hand.
So that K command is just now a 1-for-1 instead of a 2-for-1.
Yeah, and it's just it's a choose to discard.
Right.
One, as well, which is brutal. Okay, but we have our own Nihil Spellbomb here now.
And that Tarfire, will it find a target?
I mean, holding on to it, yeah. Totally with you here, Capolo. Sorry to say. The Tarfire, we just got to hold on to it until Lurrus comes into play.
Right.
Right? Like, it's the only way we're going to get value out of it. Cracking.
Oh, I get it. On the end step while they're tapped out. I think that's fair.
Okay, now we got a couple of ways to kill.
Right. Lurrus drawing Seal of Fire. Not having their Lurrus anymore does make that Seal of Fire a little worse, but at least now they have no shortage of removal for opponents' Lurrus.
Right. The big thing here is that being able to kill Scavenging Ooze while there's no targets in the graveyard, which I think is part of the reason that he had to crack the spell bomb when he did. We only got 2 card types in the graveyard. Can we get all the way?
I think so.
Instant?
Yeah, we have a Tribal Instant and an enchantment.
Yeah. The question is if he's going to fire off the enchantment here or wait. Yeah, see, that's going to keep Traverse farther away.
Mm-hmm.
Going to play it.
Holding up Stubborn Denial.
I mean, through it all, the interesting thing is that we managed to get ahead on cards in hand, but now there's a good chance to just cash in a land.
What do you think about holding up Stubborn Denial there when opponent had as much mana as they did and Capolo didn't have a way to turn on Ferocious?
It's just in case they decide to overexert themselves and play a bad sequence. I mean, it's really the only play that Capolo had access to was to play the 2 red spells, leave the blue up, and hope to cash in the Stubborn Denial for some value.
Just because now, that Traverse needs to find a threat at this point.
Yeah. But here we go. We're going to get a chance to do it now because there's a land in the graveyard as well. The problem is what's going to happen is we are going to come into Luris. So we're going to have to get a pretty big threat. Yeah, it's Death Shadow time. So we got a Shadow. We got a Stubborn Denial online now. It's a pretty good situation to be in. I'm kind of surprised at the way that this has turned out over the last couple of hands because it really felt like Apollo was foundering.
Yeah.
But, we managed to grind it down.
Yeah, it helped to get ahead on cards, I think.
Yeah. It always helps to get ahead on cards. It's my favorite thing.
Sometimes drawing cards can be good.
Exactly.
It's a classic dive down catchphrase for people in chat.
I'm sure they're going wild for it right now. The t-shirt orders are coming in, Stan. It's coming up.
I had a really embarrassing moment in the early days of the dive down where I foolishly thought Stubborn Denial was a hard counter, not just a negate, because I spent so much time playing Control in Modern that every time I would get Stubborn Denial, that was just assumed that's because Stubborn Denial was the best counter spell in the format. I've gotten better since then.
Yeah. We all make mistakes. I'm sure I've said several false things on this broadcast alone. Hey, this is pretty big, though. We got Assassin's Trophy off the top.
Yes.
Not sure what is in Drake's hand, of course, at this point. There's 1 card left. But Stubborn Denial is a pretty good catch-all to have there. I mean, this is the situation that Shadow essentially wants to be in.
Right. And I think that Stubborn Denial now is just Fatal Push protection.
Yep, absolutely. It's unfortunate.
And I don't think that Stubborn Denial is known information.
No.
To Drake.
No, I don't think it is. Yeah, I don't think that Stubborn Denial was in Capolo's hand was not there during the Inquisition of Kozilek Fest that happened on turn 2 earlier, so.
Right. So, looks like Capolo just needs to
ride it home.
Untap, I think.
Well, I mean, here's what's going to happen. The question is if Drake has double removal here now, right?
Oh.
Or Veil of Summer. Yep. There we go.
Heartbreaking.
But hey, I mean, here's what we have going on now, though. It's top deck versus top deck. The big problem, of course, is that Drake just drew a card off of Veil. Mm-hmm. So if Drake drew Gas, it's going to be a problem. Looks like it is
on Capolo's draw step.
Yeah.
Tapping 3 mana.
Guess what? We're getting a discard at instant speed. Yeah.
Eek. God, that was almost as good as an Esper Charm.
Rough. This has been a really interesting interactive match to watch, I have to say, though. Or this game in particular. Many times we thought Capolo was down and Drake had the game firmly in hand. Then Capolo came roaring back for a couple turns, though, off of some fortuitous draws off of Mishra's Bauble and a couple of good top decks. And now we're kind of back to, if Capolo had Fatal Push protection, then Drake had Stubborn Denial protection, and now this is where we are.
Right. Yeah, and I'm thinking back to the episode that we had with Evert, Aspiring Spike, and we were talking about the nature of these companion matchups and how these Luris decks really encourage interactive magic. And 2 Luris decks against each other, a mid-range slugfest, part of me also isn't even surprised that we're just seeing the game go into turns 10 plus. Just lots of spells being cast, trading 1-for-1 resources, trying to get a 2-for-1 where you can.
Boy, that Luris is a good card, though, huh?
I think it's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, we went for the Dark Confidant. This is an interesting choice. I mean, there's not a lot of cards in Drake's deck that would put him in serious danger off of the Confidant flipping, but we are at a low life total. Also have Luris online. This K command is huge right here.
Did Drake get Dark Confidant from the graveyard, or did they
cast it off of Luris?
Okay.
So what we're doing here is we are going to bring back Shadow and kill Luris, which is massive because Drake could get just a really, the flip off of this, the worst flip off of this would be Kolaghan's Command, which would be a good card to draw, but a bad card to get. All right, so flip to land.
It was a land. It's
Yeah.
always a land with Bob. That's why Bobs are in your deck, to draw you extra lands.
It's true. Now we're going to cycle it. We got 3 cards in hand now.
Ooh,
Tough spot. Here comes Sorry.
Dave, can you believe I still haven't played a Luris style mid-range deck?
You haven't tried one?
I still haven't tried one. I mean, the closest I've come are like the equipment decks or the burn decks in Pioneer especially, but haven't tried any of these like red-black or blue-black Luris.
Yeah. I love I really enjoyed playing Luris in Shadow. I know a lot of people felt like it was a big non-bo to have Luris with a Shadow with a lifelink creature, and also having to give up Street Wraith has been a little bit painful as far as enablers and things that let you kind of change the power and toughness of Shadow at instant speed. But it's just really hard to get over that draw engine that Luris provides, and just a way to use extra mana. So I've enjoyed playing this deck a lot, or versions of this deck.
Yeah.
Still not sold on Snapcaster Mage after watching this match. I feel like this is a matchup where Snapcaster would have been pretty good just to get extra value out of your removal spells, but it hasn't really turned out that way, unfortunately. Not that there's been a ton drawn or anything.
Yeah, I don't think that was Snapcaster's fault.
Yes, right? Snapcaster did nothing wrong. It's true. All right. Looks like I
think that's game.
That's it. Unfortunately, Drake got to a threat first. Capolo is going to take the big goif here. That's it. Okay.
Wow. That was a really fun one.
That was a fun match. I really enjoyed that.
A lot of jib jab.
Yeah, it looks like Stan's camera is out of position, but rest assured, viewers, he is here in voice.
I am here. Michael will save me.
Yeah. I'm trying. I'm looking for you. Where are you? Where'd you go?
I'm still in Chicago, in the Lakeview neighborhood. Not far from historic Wrigley Field.
I don't know.
He has a 1 pixel sized camera. So that was a great match to watch. Actually, I really enjoyed kind of having a chance to talk about that one. Feel a little bit more comfortable with those decks than I did with Titan. That's for sure. And love it. The one thing I was going to say was, Mike, that outcome leads to a rematch.
It
right?
does.
Okay.
And I fixed it.
Perfect.
Right.
It's back. Like I was always here.
You were always here in my heart and in my ears. You guys actually missed some great stream chat. Fern Gully was mentioned in the stream chat. Do you guys remember that movie from 1992?
Oh, absolutely. My children actually have watched it and have watched The Land Beyond Time. They're real dinosaur heads. Dino heads, we call them.
Dino heads.
I've never seen Fern Gully. I've only seen Avatar, which I've been told is more or less the same movie.
Get out of here.
It's kind of like Fern Gully plus Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, which
you remember
they're
that
all the same movie. Yeah.
It's all the same plot.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to get a rematch out of... what did you think of the outcome of that match, actually, Mike, before we go on to the next one?
I feel I feel like Jund is slightly favored there, thanks to it can go a little bit bigger, and that's traditionally how those matchups go. Now, the way Drake's deck is built, it's actually a little bit weaker against Death Shadow than say traditional Jund. Say, for example, my Jund Loris deck might be because he's heavier on the Seal of Fires, and Seal of Fire is kind of terrible against the 6/6 Death Shadow.
Yeah.
I thought Capolo did really well at managing his life total, so he never could really get like super burnt out. Of course, we saw that game one where he got the double seal of fire, but that was really more him just being behind on board and not being able to deal with the Croxa than him being
And a
burnt
mold of
out because he
5
wasn't
too.
managing his own life total. Yeah.
Right.
So I thought that was really well played by Capolo, but Drake just, sometimes in mid range mirrors, you just have to, you try to trade one for one, and then when you draw more lands than your opponent, you're not going to win a mid range mirror.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I felt like that match really came down to a lot of creative Kolaghan's commanding and just who kind of got more Kolaghan's command. And I feel like that play that Drake made where the spell bomb went down while Capolo had Kolaghan's command in hand so that it couldn't freely play Kolaghan's command, and then the Thoughtseize came out was actually pretty huge, forcing the Kolaghan's command to be played for half value. I think turned out to be massive.
Drake's played exceedingly well to open so far tonight with how, just to recap what he did against Eldrazi Tron, it's such a tiny little thing, but sequencing matters in Amulet Titan when he made sure that even if his opponent had Dismember, it didn't matter. The way he sequences lands in Azusa or Dryad, depending upon, because he did it twice. And then the same thing, like you just mentioned, Dave, making Capolo's Kolaghan's command neutered effectively with that Thoughtseize Spellbomb combo, where you have to kind of use it now, but at the same time, maybe you want to hold it. It just, either way, it was kind of nullified right there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the next match is a rematch between these two players, and Capolo will no longer have access to Shadow.
Right, so it'll be Amulet Titan. On Drake's end, he has Amulet Titan.
Okay.
And he has not Shadow, Jund.
Mm-hmm.
And on Capolo's end, he has Humans and Burn. Now, Burn is absolutely terrible against Amulet Titan.
Yeah.
Because Amulet Titan has a painless mana base, and Radiant Fountain is a very real card.
Yeah, so absolutely.
I'd be surprised.
And you play a 6/6
back to your hand and just play it over and over.
Over and over and over and over. Then you have Vesuva to copy it even more. Also, Amulet Titan can race Burn, so it not only has a painless mana base, it has mainboard life gain, and it has a faster clock in some cases. So Burn is not great against Amulet Titan. So I'd be surprised to see Capolo play Burn. So that means Capolo's kind of locked in to playing Humans. Now, Drake could play Jund, which would be very good against Humans, but at the same time, especially with all the Seal of Fires he has, Seal of Fire and Luris, is very, very good against Humans as long as you dodge Mantis Rider. But Jund is kind of weak against Burn. So there's a little bit of leeway there. If Drake is convinced that Capolo is going to play Burn, he's absolutely on Amulet Titan. If he's convinced Capolo's on Humans, he's going to play Jund. That said, the Amulet Titan matchup is actually okay with it's pretty even against Humans since the addition of Dryad, because what used to happen is Amulet Titan against Humans, the Humans player mulligans for Meddling Mage and Kite Sail, and Meddling Mage is Titan, Meddling Mage is Engineered Explosives, and then the Titan player has no outs. Now, however, you can, if they do that, now you can just, all right, I'll just keep playing my lands, and I'll put a 2/4 in play, which blocks really well against your 2/2 Meddling Mages. And, my land drops kill your Meddling Mage, so now I can play Titan and kill your entire board.
Right.
So that's probably a more even matchup. That's probably both players' inclination would be to do that simply because of the way I outlined. Like, Jund has a bad matchup against Burn. Amulet Titan wrecks Burn and is pretty neutral against Humans. And then from Capolo's side, he just can't risk Burn into Amulet.
Right. So we're probably talking about Humans versus Titan here.
Absolutely.
All right.
And the key cards in that matchup are Meddling Mage and Valakut the Molten Pinnacle.
Perfect.
So we have
we're on Capolo's side of the board.
I believe we are. Yeah. Let me double check that. I'll be double checking that in the break. Yep.
Cool.
Great.
So have a quick break, and we'll be jumping back into round number 2 of Capolo versus Drake. The winner of this match is in the finals. The loser of this match is going to play in the elimination bracket against Aspiring Spike, and then that winner is in the finals. So we're down to 3. Nobody's undefeated anymore. I can pop some champagne because that means nobody's going to one-up me by being undefeated in the second league and one-up my undefeated performance in the first league. So I'm kind of like the Miami Dolphins right now, just opening up some champagne. I'm sorry, Capolo. I love you, buddy, but I am glad you lost at least one match here. So thank you, Drake. Drake kind of knocked me out of this tournament a little bit here. But
Capolo's never coming back to the Modern Streamers League.
I know.
After what you just said.
Is Capolo in the chat? Does he have a reaction to that?
We'll see. We'll see.
All
Capolo,
right.
do you have a reaction to that? He just lost from my ego. He just did exactly that. Capolo is such a good friend. He said, you know what? I'm going to win this thing. Easy peasy. He actually said that exact quotes. Easy peasy. I'm going to drop a game against Drake here to keep things interesting and to keep that St. Doom fella pretty happy.
That's funny. Well, I got to say, after watching 2 matches of Drake Sasser play, which I've seen Drake on SCG before, of course, too, looking pretty strong today. Yeah. I'll be curious to see what happens the third time that we see him. So.
And maybe
let's do it.
And if he loses, you can actually see him a 4th time too.
Oh wow! There you go.
It could be an all Drake night tonight. So coming up next, Capolo against Drake, the rematch again. Because I don't know if you guys know, but these guys have a history. They played earlier in the undefeated bracket, in the winners bracket, and Capolo told me it was his revenge for when Drake beat him in a GP and knocked him out of top 8 contention. Capolo, of course, got the better of that match and continued on to be the undefeated player until we just saw him fall just now. Wow. So is it time for Drake's revenge to continue? Or is Capolo really just being a nice guy and letting me stay the only undefeated MSL player in history? We'll find out.
Just taking a breather.
We'll find out in just a moment.
That's funny. All right, we're back. Capolo against Drake, the rematch. Capolo is on humans, as Mike so astutely predicted.
Oh, and this is humans with General Kudro of Dranith.
Yes.
A new card from Ikoria, a human lord.
Yeah. Got a lot of utility with that card. It's a human lord. Yeah. It removes cards from the graveyard. You can also do some sacrifice effects to kill a creature if you need to.
Yeah, you know, I feel like humans kind of been falling out of favor a little bit in the companion meta, so I haven't seen this particular card in action. That said, Capolo's deck is running Giganta, so they do have their own free 8th card. But I'm excited to see how much work General Kudro does.
Yep. Go out there and make Lisa proud, General.
Yeah. So starting with a Noble Hierarch, pretty classic humans play.
You didn't like my Lisa Kudrow joke? You just went right over it, huh? Okay. It's cool.
Phoebe from Friends?
All right. Big turn coming here. Oh, and of course, Drake, as predicted, is on Amulet. Here comes Manus Rider.
All right. Swinging for 4. We now have a 5-turn clock.
Yep. Swinging for 4 on turn 2. Look out, everybody.
That's modern.
That is modern. So interestingly, Capolo is actually playing a list that's very close to one of the decks that Drake lost earlier in the tournament. Drake's third deck was humans, and they were playing pretty close to the same 75.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the sequence here, just trying to go in with the aggressive play, especially in the blind. I don't think they knew the opponent was on Titan when they decided to lead with Noble. Do they have that Aether Vial in their opening hand? I guess they didn't.
Did not, yeah. Unless we couldn't see it off to the side from the graphics, but I'm pretty sure it did not have it. You know, Noble into Mantis Rider is just massive. You know what I mean? Like the 2/2 haste attack is so wild.
Right, and now we can play General Lisa Kudrow and the Hierarch, making that Mantis Rider just punch
attack
so much harder.
6. Yeah. And also the interesting thing here is that later in the game, we can have an instant speed destroy effect for Titan out of Kudrow. Can destroy the two Noble Hierarchs, sacrifice the 2 Noble Hierarchs to be able to destroy a target creature with power 4 or greater. So that seems like a pretty big card to have out this early as well. Takes a couple mana, so if we go into a turn 3 Titan here on Drake's side, it's not gonna be available. But
yeah, Capolo would have to untap, but Kudrow can sack itself. So getting rid of Kudrow and a Noble Hierarch, maybe
totally possible. Yep. So it's a pretty strong start here, I feel like, but things can always change with the Amulet Titan. I feel robbed to not be able to see the Amulet Titan player's hand right now.
Really? I feel relieved.
You feel relieved?
I don't have to do the math for the chat. We can just play 1 or 2 creatures at a time.
Yeah, we don't have to go back and see the chat later and see everybody go, that was a turn 3 Titan, you guys. That's not a Maul.
Yeah. You know, the more I think about it, maybe we keep Kudrow around and just sacrifice these Noble Hierarchs just to keep that Lord effect static. Maybe.
You always might need to sacrifice it, sacrifice a couple more creatures.
Right.
These Horizon Canopies are going to get cashed in pretty quick, I think, though.
For sure. Yeah, this seems like a really strong start, and it was a decent opening hand for Capolo.
Yep. Keep in mind that Capolo can also cast Gigantha next turn if they want to for some reason. So if we could have a big beater as well. Not great against Titan, of course, but if there gets to be a situation where we need the extra card, we have access to it.
You know, every time I hear Gigantha, I just immediately my brain goes into the melody from Kokomo.
Yeah. General Kokomo is about to be used. Because here we go. Turn 3 Titan. Where are we at on land drops here? Are we gonna? We got Amulet out, so we're gonna be able to haste this this Titan up with Valakut.
Oh, right, because it can get both Valakut and Handmere battlements. Is that what that land is called?
Yeah, Handmere battlements.
So,
we went for double Valakut instead.
Playing the long game. Valakut is quite good against humans.
Well, no, we just had it. We just had it the whole time. The battlements was in Drake's hand, so I was wondering if we had an extra land drop off of Dryad. Still, I was not. I hadn't catched up enough. So here we go. We're gonna get a hasty Titan. We got a whole bunch of mountains coming into play.
Oh my God! Is Drake just about to clean up the board?
Yeah, we're about to
board.
Yeah, we're about to crush General Kudrow. Not going to get a chance to use the activated ability, unfortunately.
Smelly cat. I'm just feeling Phoebe right now from Friends.
Yeah. I mean, what's going to happen here, I think, most likely is you throw a mountain at each Kudrow and Manus Rider, and they both die because Kudrow leaves the board, takes the pump effect with it.
That's clever.
That's just magic, man.
Yeah, I mean, what are we trying to draw from Capolo's side? Do we just want maybe Phantasmal Image to copy that Titan?
Hang on. We actually just die. Yeah, because we got Vesuva and we have 6 Valakut triggers, so we just kill Capolo. That's it. Turn 3 kill. Yeah, sorry, buddy. There's the thumbs down. I'm sure the chat was going, stop talking about killing creatures. He's going to be able to get enough. Yeah, that's just it.
Yeah. Exacxies.
Yeah. Painland's causing pain, you know?
Okay, so
all right. What
do we have here? Knight of Autumn, probably.
Deputy of Detention. Yeah, Knight of Autumn. I think that's it. Not bringing in Spatial Contortion to help with like a little bit of extra removal, which I think is fine. Mike mentioned in our kind of in-between match chat that Meddling Mage is the key card on this side, and so we might see a little bit more movement towards that. Maybe a mull towards that in this game. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
That is 2 turn 3 kills, I think, that we've witnessed from Drake Sasser tonight on Titan, which is, happens.
Looks like Capolo's drinking Coca-Cola Zero. And can I just say, I love Coke Zero. I prefer it to Diet Coke.
Yeah, it's got real sugar in it, of course.
No, it doesn't.
I'm drinking bubbly. I'm a bubbly person.
I'm drinking LaCroix.
Oh man, we're gonna have to take this to the after show. LaCroix versus bubbly. Revealing Gigantha. Ooh, okay. No lands. Easy mull there. 2 lands. You really want to see a couple of some more low mana creatures.
Yeah.
Having 4 3-drops in your hand is not a good one.
And you don't even have 3 mana, so there's like no guarantee we'll get to that to any of these 3-drops.
There's a mulligan. A mulligan. I mean, this is in some ways worse, but you kind of just probably, at this point, you have to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, at least it's a playable hand. Hope to draw Meddling Mage.
Mike is telling us on headset right now that he thinks he would have mulled the 4.
Wait, Mike is talking to you on the headset?
Yeah, he's been telling me all kinds of stuff this whole show.
Yeah,
it's real tough to mull the 4 here. I mean, it's like, I guess you're just mulling into Meddling Mage here just to try to get it. Boy,
wow, got rid of Phantasmal Image. I'm surprised just because that top deck Meddling Mage would have been so strong.
How good do we think Reflector Mage is here? gonna get to play it after Drake's 2-drop second turn. I mean, you go Reflector Mage into Reflector Mage. Maybe there's something there that'll help you get back online in this game.
All right, Capolo drew that phantasmal image that he thought he put on the bottom.
The Scribe Bug attacks again. Capolo just shook his head at the camera. I'm really feeling it for this guy. That last match was tough to watch, and this one, I mean, dropping a turn 2 Valakut is actually gotta make you feel a little bit better from Capolo's side of the table, I think. Yeah, I don't think you want to sacrifice that land. Yeah, because nothing too interesting was played on turn 2 there, we're going to go with the attacking plan.
Right. Drew Athalia's Lieutenant probably wanted to build up the board a little bit before we cast that. Though that might be a good copy target for Phantasmal Image, depending on how this game goes.
Yeah. I mean, what we really want to have happen here is kind of not much action and drop a Dryad, because if we get into that kind of game plan, we get a chance to Reflector Mage the Dryad a bunch of times, and that will set Drake back a little bit. If we go into another bonkers Titan draw here, it's over.
Hey.
I mean, we don't have Drake doesn't have Amulet, so it's pretty hard to get something too much steam going on with Titan there. I guess if you played an Amulet and done some stuff, but
even after we bounce that Dryad, Drake could still get Titan on the next turn because of a land drop in Sakura. But that means their hand would have to be Titan or like a copy, a pact for Titan and 2 lands. So might be asking a lot. Yeah.
But as we know, we've done the odds of having one of 8 cards in your opening hand from your deck is pretty good. It happens north of 50% of the time. I don't have the math right in front of me, but we did a whole episode about breaking down the math of what happens when you get a redundant effect in a deck. And obviously it makes it way better. It turns a bunch of decks that are maybe fringy combo decks into, format pillars. And so there's probably a good chance that Drake has either a pact or a Titan.
And this feels like a big turn for Drake.
Yeah.
They have 5 cards in hand. Drake does. Holding haven't played a land drop yet. Maybe they're doing their Titan math. Every land is so important.
Yeah, the odds that Drake has a Titan or a Summoner's Pact in hand on turn 4 right now is at least 79%. So it's very good odds.
Did you use your fancy calculator to figure that out?
I did use my hypergeometric calculator, yeah.
Wow, Drake thinking. Or maybe grabbing some food from the delivery driver.
Oh, Capolo wanted to show off the background for a minute there. I mean, as we know, there's a lot of different lines to work out here.
Yeah.
Here's
one. Let's just play Titan.
Guess what? It was 80%. It was at least 79% likely that they had one of these cards. I did math. I'm just going to keep using the one math that I did.
So, unless Drake has... I mean, even if Drake has battlements in hand to bring on that Tribe Scout, since they don't have an amulet, I don't think that Titan can swing this turn. Which kind of makes that Phantasmal image look quite a bit better.
Yeah,
bounce back
because
Titan.
we're just going to bounce it.
Yeah. Or do we copy? Capolo looks excited. What do those hand gestures mean?
He was doing that what Primeval Titan is doing, and doing what doing what Reflector Mage is doing. All right, so we went to go get Field of the Dead, which is rough stuff because now every time we play a land, we're going to get these zombies.
What do we copy?
I do think that we have to bounce Titan here. I could be wrong, but it just, it just means we don't get a whole bunch of extra lands next turn. If he happens to have double Titan, we can't. There's no shenanigans going on there. Like there's a lot there.
Sure. And I guess now we're just going to try to fly over the zombies, and these Reflector Mages are bigger than the zombies anyway. We did bounce back a Dryad, so Drake can now cast that. If Drake has that Dryad and a land drop, or even a couple land drops, up to 3 land drops. Is it 4 land drops?
Yeah.
A bounce land will do that, so it feels like a pretty scary position to be for Capolo looking at that Valakut right now.
We're doing this. Yeah, got to do this.
Wow.
Gonna play this.
Wow.
Fire it off, then play the Dryad.
It stings.
Then play some lands. I'm trying to work out if it's going to be enough for a kill here. It's going to be very close. Going to get to attack for 4 with the zombies,
Right. I mean, he just went really far ahead. That was a Wrath.
Yeah. They'd serve their purpose. Yeah, now here comes Titan. Okay, now we're really done, unfortunately, Capolo.
Draw the card, Capolo.
Draw him.
See, aren't you glad he drew that? Now that's interesting.
I mean, are you going to Wizard?
How spicy can we get?
Zubera.
Yeti? I didn't know there was a Yeti creature type.
Yeah, there's one in Ice Age, I think. Probably some other ones, but I seem to remember one from that era. Squirrel. Going with
Squirrel.
Mark Rosewater's favorite. Oh, yeah. That is also Capolo's icon. And the wonderful backdrop that he's shown off before.
And curiously, not a single squirrel creature in this human's deck. Makes you think.
Yeah, man and beast working together might be a little bit stronger than just humans alone. I mean, taking the Dryad out does make Valakut not as potent, but I don't think it's going to be really enough to make it happen.
Right, because we're casting Titan again.
Yeah, we're casting Titan again. We're
getting more zombies.
Oh, we have another Dryad. Okay.
Hey, you play to your outs.
F6. Drake number 1. Yeah, it is turning out that way. Bam. Game over. We get zombies. We got lava. It's all happening.
Yeah.
See you later, Capolo.
Capolo's waving, but doesn't this mean that we're going to see him in the elimination round?
Against Aspiring Spike? Yeah, should.
I think I understand how brackets work. So don't say goodbye just yet, Capolo.
All right, there we have our first finalist of this run of the MSL. It is Drake Sasser showing us how it's done with Amulet Titan and Jund. Yeah, clap for him. Way to go.
I've got to just also root for the Amulet Titan player still alive. So.
Yeah, I didn't know that you were an Amulet guy before we were talking before this, before the tournament.
Yeah. Actually, last night I was wearing my Amulet Titan Discord mod T-shirt. So yeah,
you got T-shirts.
We have T-shirts.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's
for your
say?
Discord?
For the Discord, yep. It's not for the MSL Discord, for the Amulet Titan Discord, which someone can link in the chat if they want. It's just a cool art that was custom commissioned by Grilled Cheese, who's a mod. So
hey, so Grilled Cheese, close friend of mine, personal friend of mine.
Oh, really?
He's also in the Dive Down Nation Slack. That's our buddy Ian.
Yep.
I didn't realize you were in the same Discord as the Grilled Cheese.
He's the owner of that Discord. Yep.
And
I wonder if he's
know
watching.
Grilled Cheese, yeah, in person. Actually, for realsies.
For realsies, yeah. He was a Chicago player for a long time. He's since moved to California, but there was a point where he and I worked in the same building in downtown Chicago, and we would play Modern during our lunch breaks.
That is awesome.
It was fun. It was fun in our business casual.
When we did our Amulet episode, didn't he loan you?
He loaned me his Amulet GGO deck. Yeah. So you would think I would understand the deck better by now, but it's also changed quite a bit since then.
I mean,
it's
before
changed
Dryad.
So much in the last little bit. It's actually gotten easier to pilot, to be completely honest. The deck was a lot more complicated before. Dryad and Field of the Dead made the deck like so much easier, because now the answer is like, oh, what do I get? Oh, it's probably Valakut and Field of the Dead. Before, there's so much more little nuances. It's like, what do I get? Do I need another Titan? Can they remove Titan? Do I have to get the T-West? Do I need the Engineered Explosives? Walking Ballista was a mainstay back then. Hornet Queen was a big sideboard card. Just those... The deck's pivoted from where it doesn't need Titan as much as it used to. It needs Titan for those quick wins, but it doesn't need Titan as much as it used to. And I think that has almost made it a little bit easier to play, because what you grab off Titan is much easier to quickly identify. And you can still absolutely pick up points. Like last night's, for those who missed it on YouTube, check out Fran doing commentary on my match last night against Aspiring Spike, where I actually missequenced a land, and 3 turns later was punished for it. So
wow.
There's still a lot of depth to it, but the deck is a lot easier to play than it used to be.
Stop trying to convince me to play Titan.
I used to try to convince everyone to play it because I get so much value out of it. Like, it's just such a challenging, cool deck to play. And then I realized I hate the Amulet Titan mirror, so no, don't pick it up. Don't play it.
I'm just gonna keep being Titan fodder. I guess that's my lot in life.
Yeah, keep playing. Turn 3 Blood Moons against Amulet Titan. We love that. It's fine. I'm being sarcastic. Turn 3 Blood Moon does not do much against Amulet Titan. It just it's a little bit too slow. If we know it's coming, we can prepare for it. That's why that new Ponza deck is actually pretty good. That Obosh deck is actually pretty effective against Amulet Titan because it's got a really fast clock. It's running Pillage and Magus of the Moon, and Amulet Titan. Magus of the Moon's better against Amulet Titan game 1 than Blood Moon anyway. Because we don't have an answer for a 2/2.
That's interesting.
And that 2/2 can swing in and attack. So that deck's pretty good because it's got the fast clock's important, because if you just Blood Moon, Amulet Titan, expect to win, well, they'll eventually just drop a 6/6 and say it's still a 6/6 trample. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Stan's been really into Obash Panza lately, so it's a good deck.
Yeah. Though it has been moving toward Blood Moon a little bit more lately. I've noticed in some of the results online, people seem to be playing less Magus. I think just because of all the Luris decks and just having access to Seal of Fire and shock effects.
Any burn effect makes Magus in the middle a lot worse. And I think that what you're seeing right there with Blood Moon coming in over Magus is just that the Seal of Fire is one of the most played cards in Modern right now. If you combine Seal of Fire and Bolt, they're effectively doing the same thing. It's that redundancy thing that Dave was talking about a little bit before. And mono red prowess, the black red prowess deck that's picking up steam and maybe the best deck in the format right now. Those decks just don't care about Magus. They don't really care about Blood Moon either, but
right.
Blood Moon might do something against them, like knock them off of their splash color, where Magus just eats a shock and gets trampled over by giant prowess threats.
Yeah.
So back to the Modern Streamers League, which is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and Card Hoarder. We now have, as Dave mentioned a bit ago, our first finalist. We have one match left to determine who is meeting Drake Sasser in the finals. Drake Sasser has 2 decks. Whoever wins this next match will only have 1 deck, which means in the finals, which is tomorrow night, Drake's got a game up effectively because he has to lose twice, where he only has to win once. Granted, Capolo was just in that same boat, only needing to win once, and Drake was just too much for Capolo to answer. I do think that Drake's deck choices really lined up really well against Capolo, as I kind of outlined a little bit before that second match. But coming up next, we know their deck list because they're down to 1. Capolo's on Burn, Luris Burn. An Aspiring Spike is on the very sweet Grixis Luris Delver list.
Yeah, this is a deck. We'll talk about it more once we get on camera, but it's definitely a deck I've been wanting to try out. It's sort of, in my mind, I feel like related to Shadow in some weird ways. These days, it's sort of like they're kind of cousins in tempo to each other. And this is just a different take on a similar game plan and much less painful one. So we'll see how it fares against Burn. Another Luris match, though.
Another Luris match. It's almost like Luris is the best card in Modern at the moment.
It's pretty good.
It's almost like it's our backdrop for the entire show.
Yeah. It's pretty. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I don't feel like we're gonna see all that much Luris tonight, and then you have your art has that on it, which I thought was pretty funny.
We did that was made before our deck lists were picked, so it was actually our deck lists were picked over a month ago now because we've been playing this tournament for 4 weeks, and this is before Luris was like, oh, absolutely the best deck, that best card. This is before a lot of these new. It's before Luris became 70% of the format or whatever it is right now. That's why you still see like Eldrazi Tron and some pretty sweet decks that are still fighting through it. But I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out. With our last 4 decks are Amulet Titan, Luris Jund, Luris Burn, and Luris Delver.
Wow. If anyone's been... Oh,
it's almost like it was almost like it worked out just how you drew it up, Mike.
Almost. Now,
just how you had the art prepared.
Almost. Yep. Chris Manbat, the co-founder of the MSL, made all the designs there. Now, I do want to say, in terms of drawing it out, the last Modern Streamers League played 100 matches of Modern between 2 teams. The final result of which was 51-49. So we're pretty good at getting things pretty equalized because when everyone's a good player, it's going to be close. And like what we're seeing right now, those matches between Capolo and Drake, I mean, Drake just had it when he was on the Amulet Titan, but that Shadow Jund matchup was very close. And I hope we're going to see a close match right now between Capolo and Aspiring Spike.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting matchup. Spike's deck, especially their mana base, is a little painful, but they have all these Darkslick Shores and Spirebluff Canals that if he knows that he's playing against Burn, then he could potentially play around it.
It's open deck lists, and they know their opponent only has one deck left. This is full information going in. So you might even see, this will be from Capolo's perspective again, so you might even see a mulligan decision based on, I can't beat a turn 1 Delver with this hand, to something to that effect. So, well, I'm ready to jump right in and see who our next finalist is. Are you guys?
I think we need a quick break.
Oh, we'll have a quick break and then jump in. Absolutely. But
sounds good.
We'll see you all.
Thank you.
We'll see you all in just a moment.
Hey, Capolo's back.
Yep.
With that friendly wave.
All right. It's going to be a tough match. I've really come to have some affinity for Capolo in the matches that we've watched him, but, aspiring Spike, friend of the show.
Great player. Normally I'd be rooting for Everett just because we have a little rapport, but I feel like Burn is just favored in some of these more controlling blue-red X decks.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little tough in that sense just because there's not a ton of cheap interaction. I mean, there is cheap interaction. It is a Delver deck, but we don't have Spell Pierce. We have Spell Snare instead. We've got Mana Leak. So there'll be some counter magicking going on, but not a lot of it lines up against all of the cards in Capolo's deck. So
yeah,
be curious to see.
Right. I mean, we don't know what's in Spike's hand, but he's got a couple of good Spell Snare targets out of Capolo's hand right now, but
true.
It kind of depends on whether or not Capolo can just overrun that removal.
Yeah. What do you think about Archmage's Charm against Burn? You've played a good amount of Archmage's Charm.
Yeah, I think it's actually excellent. I would say it's one of just the best counter spells against it because it also will steal their threats and stealing a Goblin Guide even is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Everett is all the way down. I think this is a pretty rough play out of Everett on turn 2, unfortunately. Sprite Dragon, I feel like, is just begging to get bolted here, which is unfortunate. I mean, we've got 11 life, double Boros Charm.
I think Apollo has to remove that Sprite Dragon before it gets too big. Although, he could Lightning Helix at instant speed, but I don't know. It's asking to get spell snared too.
Yeah, exactly. If you let him untap, it's gonna get interesting. But here's what we're doing. We're gonna Boros Charm during his upkeep so that we commit Everett's mana to the board right now. So there's your mana leak.
Interesting.
Yeah. So basically, we're saying we want free reign to do whatever we want next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Now Everett does have 4 Force of Negation. Man, this mana base is taking a huge bite out of Aspiring Spike's life total.
Yeah. Familiar story in like some of these blue-red controlled decks versus burn is like sometimes your own mana base is your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
I do think that the matchup gets better post-board, right?
Do we have a bunch of collective brutalities? Yeah.
Got a bunch of Cobrus, got some Fluster Storms, even Seal of Fire. No Seal of Fires in Everett's main deck, 3 in the sideboard.
This is pretty close to game. Let's see if we have the force for the Boros Charm or not. Very well could have it. Got it.
Wow.
Okay, we got a 5/5 Sprite Dragon now.
Right, and
can't attack with our Goblin Guide anymore. Down to 4 life.
Yeah, that's a good point. That Sprite Dragon just cannot attack.
Well, and the Goblin Guide can't attack either at this moment anyway. All right, we got a second guide and Helix up.
Everett's got 2 mana. Could be holding either another mana leak, maybe a Drown in the Lock.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the only creature removal we have main deck here is Lightning Bolt. No Fatal Push in this black deck.
Yeah, it's...
Oh, we got Drown in the Lock.
We have Drown in the Lock, yeah, but it's more of a counterspell based.
Drown in the Lock. Speaking of... Okay, now we're at 1.
Top deck time.
Top deck that Resplendent Angel or whatever that's in the Luca deck. Reset that life total. Oh boy.
Oh wow. So if Spike can't counter this, I think it's game over. He can. And he did.
This is getting interesting now. I mean, this is still like tough. I mean, you have burn in top deck mode. Yeah. You have... Oh, there we go. 10/10.
Wow.
Sprite Dragon.
Wow. This is why Spike is going to the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Plays like that.
I mean,
I'm impressed.
Ran out of cards.
That Sprite Dragon looked impressive. It got so big.
I bet that
like really good against burn.
Yeah.
You know, like big creatures that they can't attack into.
All right, how are we sideboarding here?
So we're definitely bringing in Searing plays. That makes sense.
Yep. Another Seal of Fire. Well, I don't know. It's tough, right? There is 10 creatures in this deck. We're taking out Boros Charm. We're taking out a couple Skewer the Critics. Surprised to see Boros Charm grow out since it's so powerful, but maybe it's just because it's a 2-drop.
Yeah, it makes the spell snares a little bit worse.
Well, we took it out for Skullcrack, so it's kind of like if you get Luris online, you can't gain life. That's a tough one for me.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe also just because Boros Charm doesn't actually remove creatures, and at the end of the day, you kind of have to be able to play removal to deal with this Grixis style deck.
Double Eidolon of the Great Revel seems pretty decent here. I mean, the main thing is, as you pointed out, Aspiring Spike does have 3 collective brutalities in the board. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to get that kind of like we could have that Eidolon discard kind of hand coming up. Kill Eidolon, discard something, gain drain.
Wow.
Spell Snare, there it is.
Everett just playing draw go.
Yeah. Here's your Flusterstorm.
I mean, I think we held back that land and led with the Lava Spike to try to draw out a counterspell to make way for this Eidolon, since Eidolon really has to resolve.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if you happen to have another spell snare, you were in deep trouble there. But yeah,
depending on how quick Everett can remove this Eidolon, like Capolo just might ride it to victory. It's such a good card in the matchup.
Capolo's looking at the camera and shaking his head again. I don't think he feels as optimistic about where we're at right now as you do. Here it is. Cobrew, discard. Suddenly, Capolo's down to lands. We got a Helix. I got to think, yeah, here comes Luris. Can't cast anything with it, though, unfortunately.
Pretty aggressive Luris play.
I think he just doesn't have any other options on what to do with his mana, and so it's better to do something with your turn than just sit there. That also on this, he gets Luris out and can play another Eidolon from the graveyard if it survives that long. Yeah, and also he needs a miracle. Oh, another Cobrew.
Only one mode. Kind of interesting.
Yeah. Didn't go fully aggro on that. Must like the card that's in his hand.
Yeah. Maybe it's an Unearth or another counterspell.
I mean, we are getting a little bit of a standoff here between whether we're going to, whether Spike is going to play Luris so that it can Helix into it or what. But both players are down on cards right now. So we are, it may not be as far out of Capolo's hands as we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But Everett does still have access to Luris, so he's certainly ahead in that part of the game.
Yeah. So, Monastery Swift Spear actually protected from that Seal of Fire thanks to Lightning Helix.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Everett recognizes, oh gosh, brutal.
Yeah, not that protected though. Yeah. So that's the card that Everett did not want to discard.
Right.
For what it's worth.
You know what? I think I see why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Everett top deck to land.
So playing it out directly into removal is an interesting choice here. Not that Everett knew for sure there was a Helix there, but I mean, we're all top decking now.
Ooh, not great.
Capolo with the old, guess that was F6 there. Maybe F8.
All right, Everett has a little card selection. And they're keeping whatever's in their hand.
Goblin Guide into Seal of Fire and one card.
Yeah, doesn't feel
Tough.
good.
Tough.
Doesn't feel good. Everett drew another land. It's such a hard position to be in for Capolo because, if this were me, I would just be doing the math of, do I make them have it? Do I run them out of removal and counter spells and then just try to turn the corner in a couple turns?
Yeah. I mean, I think that this play makes some sense. Just playing the threat that's a little worse right now, but looks better, hoping to bait the use of the Seal of Fire at least so he can play Goblin Guide out. Every turn
draws a card and passes.
Yep. I think that says to me that that Everett has more removal.
Yeah.
But
can I just say I'm really liking Capolo's PlayStation hat?
It's nice.
It's a nice hat.
Oh, really?
He works for PlayStation, I'm hearing.
Yeah,
from my
totally
producer.
missed that Mike said that. Yeah, sorry. Forgot the listeners can't hear him. I went, oh, really? Yeah, he does. I'm going to have to get some practice with having a producer in. Oh, man. Capolo is pulling a whole lot of what's basically the worst card in the deck right now, which is Inspiring Vantage. Lightning Bolt entered the revealed. It's too bad when your Goblin guy just reveals burn on your opponent's side.
Skullcrack's all right.
I don't think Everett has any ways left to gain life in the deck.
There's a third Cobra.
Oh, another Cobra. Okay. All right. Baubles.
Wow. I like it. So Everett's now just thinking probably that he needs to be really aggressive with his counterspells. He's definitely ahead. The burn player is no longer presenting any pressure.
There you go.
Now we have Luris out for 1 mana.
Sprite Dragon.
Plus 3 more cards in hand. 2. Everett played a land, so I think that Sprite Dragon's going to be pretty big.
It's super tough here because Capolo doesn't have removal. He doesn't have cards that can target creatures right now. Right. So no Seal of Fire. There's a Lightning Bolt. That's a pretty good draw. Let's see if Everett has a way to protect his Luris or not.
I think we have to lead with like a Lava Spike here. Try to bait something out. But no. Keeping it close to the chest. Yeah.
I mean, one thing you can try to do with burn is try to get to a point where you play 4 or 5 spells in a turn and just try to run your opponent out of mana, right? So, if they have the more expensive counter spells here right now, your Archmage's Charm, your Force of Negation and stuff like that, eventually Capolo's spells will cost less and maybe they'll get ahead that way. But pretty rough right now. First thing we're doing, save the Skullcrack for the life gain. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, interesting. Everett didn't or couldn't counter that. So maybe if Capolo draws another burn spell, that could be game.
I think that likely saving... Oh boy, here we go. Searing Blaze with Landfall.
I think...
I have a hard time believing Everett doesn't have a counterspell here. Yep. Is that bolt going to get... Where's that bolt going to go now is the question. Because right now is the time where, you might have a shot at killing Luris still. You can kill Sprite Dragon.
Wow. So Everett just cast the Lightning Bolt in response to Capolo's Lightning Bolt, making that Sprite Dragon, putting that Sprite Dragon out of bolt range.
And making it a lethal attack.
Yeah. So.
There you go.
Capolo, we had a lot of fun.
Oh, not quite a lethal attack. Sorry.
You don't think so?
Oh, no, there it is. Yep.
Yeah, that's over.
Yeah.
I feel like I got to know Capolo a little bit. But
thanks, Capolo.
Everett, really impressive. We were saying ahead of this matchup that it feels like Burn is the favored deck, but maybe Luris changes that equation now. Lifelink creature that lets you draw extra cards.
Yeah.
That was an incredible match. Capolo, who started 0-3 in Season 1 of the Modern Streamers League, starts out undefeated this one, but loses 3 hard matches in a row tonight to be eliminated from the tournament and come in ultimately third. Congratulations to Aspiring Spike and Drake Sasser. They are in our finals. I do want to talk about tonight. I do want to talk about our finals, but first, I want to take a brief moment of silence to remember the fallen.
Well,
a little emotional there.
I saw my name there, so I instantly teared up.
You know what? They were all great competitors, every single one of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm pumped that we have Drake Sasser and Aspiring Spike, who are both incredible human beings, incredibly good Magic players, um, and they're in our championship.
That's an exciting final.
Yeah, like these are two big names. I mean, I think that in a field of big names, these are two big names, and I'm
Absolutely.
really happy. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm sure I'm gonna be talking about it a lot in the next 22 hours. But can this Grixis Delver deck beat Amulet Titan again? Because he did beat my Amulet Titan deck, and beat Jund, and
Yeah.
then like
Ooh,
I don't know.
That's a tall hill to climb for Aspiring Spike.
Like Spike is the plucky underdog so far this tournament. We'll show you the bracket, and I'll tweet him out in a little bit. But Spike fell down to the elimination bracket a little bit much earlier than like Drake did, and it had to win more matches to get to the finals. It was a much harder road for Aspiring Spike. Definitely our plucky underdog. Definitely like the 2001 New England Patriots against the St. Louis Rams here. Can you tell I live in New England? Can Aspiring Spike's Grixis Delver deck, which on paper you're like, oh, it's a Delver deck in Modern. Yeah, I've seen that before, but it plays out pretty well. That Sprite Dragon is a very real card.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that is, I think important about the deck that Spike has is that it has counter magic in it. You know what I mean? And so having access to some interaction in that way could help. A well-timed mana leak against Titan can do some stuff, especially game one, before the mystical disputes come in. And so we'll have to see. I mean, you do have to kind of roll a hard 6 to be able to win 2 matches uphill like that. But
yeah,
I think it's possible.
I have to predict if I was to make some called shots that Sasser, it's Drake Sasser, right, in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would lead with Titan just because that's probably the more favored matchup against this Delver deck. Because the Jund, I feel like these two mid-range strategies, like it's almost a coin flip, especially with all the counter magic. I think Aspiring Spike could pull ahead, but without any good ways to like interact with Titan's resources or lands, I can see that being a much tougher matchup and probably a more strategic deck to start with on the Sasser
agree
side.
with that. In jumping into that, so my deck list for Amulet Titan's very different than Drake's list. Drake's list is much better against his Grixis Delver list than mine. We both run 2 Cavern of Souls main. My deck list ran Karn, Great Creator, which is not as good against cards like Force of Negation or flying hasty creatures. Karn's much better against like Jund and things like that. But Drake doesn't have those. Drake also has a better sideboard plan. Not only is his main board better in that matchup, his sideboard plan is too, running Mystical Dispute as his counter magic of choice, where I was running Ethergust, which doesn't do a ton in that style matchup. But Mystical Dispute is very good against Grixis Delver. So
Definitely.
Drake also running a second Radiant Fountain side, where I'm running Obstinate Baloth. It's arguable which is better there because Baloth doesn't block flyers very well anyway. So interesting for sure to see how that plays out. But his Amulet Titan deck is better positioned against Spike's Grixis Delver deck than mine was. Now his Jund deck with all of those Seal of Fires has to be pretty good against these 1/1 threats, right? So on paper, I think I could see a clean sweep from Drake here, but Aspiring Spike is just such a good player, knows his deck, has been playing it so well. And even though Drake does have the upper hand, he knows exactly which deck Spike is going to be playing. Because of the way Companion works, Aspiring Spike will be able to mulligan knowing which deck Drake is on. Oh, I see Luris? Huh. Before I mulligan, I know I'm playing against Jund.
Yeah,
I see
that's
no
an interesting
companion.
point.
I'm playing against Amulet Titan. So even though Drake gets to pick home field advantage, if you will, in choosing what matchup they play first, if there's even a second matchup if he wins, but what matchup they play first, the information isn't really valuable because Aspiring Spike will know right away what the matchup is.
So it sounds to me then what Sasser has to do is lead with Jund, but not reveal Luris.
Wow.
Boom.
The triple juke.
Sneaky.
And then get outgrinded by your opponent's Luris. That's how you win.
Right. Just throw away that first match for fun. Yeah, I think you guys are going to be watching Delver versus Titan first round tomorrow, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think it's going to be an awesome matchup.
I'm pumped for it, and
Yeah,
this has been a long 4 weeks of triple night modern action, but it's been great. I'm glad I was able to have you stand on twice, and I'm glad to have met you, Dave. This has been fantastic. You guys are great. But I want to do more collaboration with Modern Streamers League and my favorite podcast. So let's definitely keep in touch.
Do you need help getting in touch with your favorite podcast, or?
Yeah, because we don't know the guys at Limited Resources.
Okay, all right.
We've never met them.
It's not them. It's actually Brian Gottlieb and Jerry. So yeah.
Oh yeah,
those guys are good.
They talk more Amulet Titan for like 5 minutes of an hour and a half podcast, but it's still 5 minutes.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true. We actively avoid it.
Amulet Titan, man.
It's not qualified.
Well, Mike, let me ask you real quick. Do you think Amulet's still the best deck in Modern?
No. I think a Prowess Luris deck is the best deck in Modern right now. I think Amulet Titan is a solid deck to play if you have the reps with it. I actually posted my learnings of Amulet Titan when I was learning how to play it, and you can actually go by. I posted my win rate by month. I was playing the deck in MTGO leagues, and I started off with like a 45% win rate. Learning the deck in January because I was learning it January, start of a new year. A year and a half ago now, and then February. And once I got to April, I had an 80% win rate with the deck. And then I just kind of I fell down from there. April was a great month, which, by the way, do you know how hard it is to get an 80% win rate with a deck in Moto when you're jamming like 20 leagues in a month and not get a 5-0?
You didn't get a single 5-0?
4-1 every league.
Yeah, you literally have to get a 4-1 every league because that's it. there's no margin.
Yep. Do you know
so with no written
that?
proof, we just have to take your word for it that you got those 4-1s?
Pretty.
5-0s rarely get published anyway. I feel like, especially when you're playing a popular deck. But
yeah. That's fair.
How were you pretty tilted at the end of that month? Or were you someone who was just
pumped.
like, man?
I was pumped because
good.
I had so many play points. I was like, for free, I get to play Jank for the next 3 months for free. Like that's basically what awesome. It was. I was like, I would love to play a deck. I have this great deck. It runs Secure Tribe Scout, Retreat to Coral Helm, Knight of the Reliquary, Oboro, and so what you can do with that, if you have Retreat, Scout, and Oboro, you can make infinite land drops. If you have a Courser of Crucifix in play, it's infinite life. Tireless Tracker, infinite clues. Lotus Cobra, infinite mana. All 3 of those, you draw your entire deck, get infinite life, get infinite mana, and effectively win the game. You can also win with like the Kessig Wolf Run Nightfall. It's just a really janky Nightfall shell, but man, it's really complicated and really fun and just not a very good deck, which is sometimes fun to play with.
Of course. Always fun. Whenever I want to play a deck that's fun but not very good, I just play Jeskai Control in Modern. Just to really relive the glory days.
Mike, here's what I want to know.
Yeah.
What do you do with your treasure chests? Crack them or sell them?
Half. I crack half, sell half. And then I immediately use the ticks that I get, and I buy cards from them from Card Hoarder, actually. So I actually have a pretty big MTGO collection because I don't rent or use rental services. I just buy the cards with the ticks for my winnings. I'm like, I could be interested in that card. Maybe I'll just buy it now, and I never sell because I'm Magic Card Hoarder. But yeah, I want to live the dream. I want to open, the dream where you get the full set. I want to do that once in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know what the odds are, but I'm like, man, I gotta. That's why I open half of them, just to like I get a bunch of junk cards I'm never going to play, and I'm not selling them. So just adding to the collection of worthlessness.
Someday.
Someday.
I opened like one or two out of the ones that I get, and I got a full art Luris the first week that it opened, and I was like, sweet, I'll just use this for a while, and then that's probably about the best card I've ever opened, unfortunately. But it was cool.
I haven't opened a chest in months.
You sell them all now.
I don't even sell them. I just kind of hoard them. And then, like, once I have a bunch or I don't have any play points or ticks to play a league, then I will actually sell them. But, like, I haven't had to do that. I've been free rolling pretty consistently. So
if you're looking for play points, I think opening them might be slightly better than selling them for ticks. I think
I've heard this.
I think Goatbots did the math on that. Just so you know, if you're looking for play points, I think opening them is your best bet. If you're looking for tickets or cash, definitely sell them. And if you're looking for that scratch ticket feel where you're like, maybe there's $1,000 in this one. You
gotta
get your
open
face right next to the monitor, sniff real deep, and you're like, I'll get my pennies. Your wife will walk in and be like, why are you scratching your computer monitor? Isn't that an LED? Like, no, get out of here.
We need another monitor again, honey. New monitor. This one's got scratches.
Smells bad, too.
It smells like pennies. So that is what I do with the tickets. But yeah, jumping back to Amulet Titan, if you want to learn the deck, of course, and like any complicated deck, you can have a learning curve. But the deck is rewarding when you play well. I don't recommend it to anyone who's going to be playing a deck halfway. What I mean by that is if you want to play a deck, you bring it to F&M, you have fun, maybe you crack open a brew, maybe you're a player who's not 100% sober when you're playing and you still expect to play decently. You don't do that with Amulet Titan. If you want to be if you want to play a league to relax, don't play Amulet Titan. You know what I mean? Like, it can be relaxing, it can be really, but sometimes you just see what you should have done 3 turns earlier, and that can be frustrating, especially if you're a casual spike. You're like, oh, I know better, and I still did that because I listened to the dive down, and they told me not to do that. Right? If that's what it is, then maybe Amulet Titan's not the best deck for you. If you want to play a deck and you're rewarded for being adaptable, you're rewarded for playing a powerful deck that a lot of your losses are going to come from you just not playing well, or you making a mistake, and you want to learn from that and become better as a player and grow with something, Amulet Titan's a good choice.
Okay, I'm sold.
You're doing it. I just was reaffirmed on why I play Prowess. And I'll let the listeners figure out which detail of Mike's description there is why I play a lot of Prowess, but I feel okay with my life now.
Yeah. Prowess is very relaxing.
I find it to be that way.
Yeah. It is. You have like 1 or 2 critical choices a match, and that's great. Your critical choice is never, do I play my land? Like, that is never a critical choice. Learning Amulet Titan, a big thing is that mana is never something that most Magic players fully focus on. And if you watch some like Reed Duke videos, and you'll see like he doesn't play a land in certain spots. If you just watch what Capolo just did last match, and he didn't play his land drop before casting his first spell to try to bait out a counter magic before letting his opponent know that he actually had his second land drop to play Eidolon. If he played the land first, he would have told his opponent a bunch of information. I mean, there's lots of heads-up plays you do with mana, but Magic players, when they first start out or until they get much better, don't really use those tools and when do you play a land, how do you play it. It's more, oh yeah, I play land so I can cast spells, and then they focus on sequencing spells and sequencing attacks and doing cute things like that instead of a very basic thing like, oh, I'm going to hold on to this land and bait out a counter spell, or what Capolo did is, I'm going to hold on to this Goblin Guide and pretend I have Lightning Helix again, because that's what the last time we did this was. I swung the Monastery Swiftspear and had Helix in hand to bait out a removal spell, or just maybe to get in 1 free point of damage, or just, I'm going to hold on to this Goblin Guide for as long as possible. You keep thinking I have something and I don't.
Yep.
That's those little things, but more with the mana, is what Amulet Titan, I think, punishes a lot of newer players for. So probably long-winded there. I can kind of talk about Amulet Titan a little bit. I wonder why if Francisco and I chatted so much to end last night's stream. We were just talking about all the mistakes I made in my previous matches, and
that's tough to be like, have that happen, then have to get on camera and be like, it's like a reality show where you're like, yeah, I did cut the seam out of the dress the wrong way, and now Tim Gunn's sending me home, kind of thing.
It's tough, but I love it. The reason I wanted the show to exist is so that type of thing can happen, and not just for me. I wanted it to be. I wish I wasn't the shining example of what I did wrong in that particular, especially my elimination match. Like,
sure.
But
yeah, that's rough.
But it's so important to learn from your mistakes, and that's just not magic. That's just life. You make a mistake, learn from it, and then if you do the mistake again, well, obviously didn't learn from it. I own a small sales company, and when I'm training new reps, a big thing I encourage them to do is once a week is try to attack one bad habit. And you can do this in Magic too. You can say, oh, I'm playing my lands out too quickly, and I need to be more like what Capolo did. I need to do what like Reed Duke does, and every single time you watch his Jund decks, him playing Jund, you just see him holding his lands and then thinking and then playing the land. And you're like, you're gonna play it anyway. Just play it.
Yeah.
So attack one bad habit a week, and actively work whenever you're doing to make it better. And then eventually, that will become second nature. Eventually, that will be so ingrained, it'll be a habit. And you won't have to actively work on it anymore. You'll be subconsciously working on attacking these bad habits. And then your bad habits will become good habits. And the next week, pick something else. The next week, pick something else. And that's how you can kind of improve every day in life and not just in Magic. Stan's laughing here.
Mike, I just need you to be my life coach, man.
I mean, should we start another channel?
Number. Can I text you?
I will say, I do think that one of the biggest things I have learned from Magic, just as we're kind of doing some denouement kind of stuff here, is that idea of improvement. Like focusing on improvement can yield results, and that's, I think, that an easily transportable skill to the rest of your life too. I think
I think a common narrative is like one of the way to yield results is not to focus on improvement per se, but to focus on reps and experience and like trying to understand a lot of matchups and a lot of different lines and how to like play to your outs. But when you think about like some of the more granular elements of how you're conveying information in Magic and what that, how that might inform your plays as well, like that sounds like level 3 thinking.
I'm not sure what the levels are, but I probably agree with you.
Level 1, have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Level 2, know your opponent's plan. Level 3, adjust your plan based on the information that you're presenting that adjusts your opponent's plan. And now you've got 4 plans.
Mm-hmm. So I'm also one of the mods in the Creature Toolbox Discord, which Shane from your podcast is actually a part of. In that group, if you go to the sideboard section and go all the way to the top, the original sideboard guide for Abzan Company, which is the deck that I won the 10K with October 2018. I wrote my entire sideboard plan out. Now, when I mean sideboard guide, I don't mean this in, this out, this in, this out. No, it's a matchup guide, line by line. And in that, I'm writing what my opponent is going to do, what they're going to bring in, and how we should react accordingly. And then if our opponent does this in game 2, we can adjust accordingly for game 3. So a big thing I used to do with that deck, kind of like, I guess, level 3 or level 4 thinking, if I was playing a deck that I killed, like an interactive deck, and I killed them with Devoted Druid and they never saw Kitchen Finks, I might side all my Devoted Druids out game 2 and game 3, and then just kill them with Infinite Life or a fair mid-range game post-board. It's just that level of adaptability is just something that I absolutely love in Magic. And Amulet Titan lets you do that too. You obviously not going to side out your Amulet Titan, your Titans, but I've sided out Amulet plenty of times, and I've sided in cards like Tireless Tracker, so people bring in Unmoored Ego, and then name Titan, and I go, okay, still Tireless Tracker. I might still have Karn the Great Creator. I still have maybe Baloths. I still have Valakut now, Field of the Dead. And Slayer's Stronghold on an Azusa still does a pretty good job.
What's that Creature Toolbox Discord look like these days?
It's pretty active. It's got Abzan Company, the Heliod version. It's got the...
That Zerda deck, does that come up in the
one.
conversation?
Yep. And Fox Mitten, who's the chief mod here, she's also one of the mods in that Discord group. Yeah, a ton, any other tool. It's mostly built around Heliod decks at this point, because Heliod is arguably the best toolbox for those style decks right now.
Cool, man. This is fun.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think going into tomorrow night? We have Drake Sasser with 2 decks against Aspiring Spike with 1 deck. I know you kind of said it's going to be, kind of agree it's going to be an uphill battle for Aspiring Spike, just simply on the fact that he's facing 2 decks and he only has 1. He has to win twice.
Right.
Stan, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow night?
Yeah, I mean, my called shot is Drake is going to lead with Titan, try to just close it up early, and then...
Does he get it in 1 game?
One match?
One match.
Ooh. I don't want to... I want to make it clear I respect Aspiring Spike Everett very much. He's such a talented player. I think he can make it to match number 2.
Okay. So you think he beats Titan but loses to Jund?
I mean...
Ooh. No, I mean, Aspiring Spike's having a great year. He's taking it all the way.
Okay. All right. Oh, complete flip-flop there from Stanislav.
Underdog of the year.
Mm-hmm.
America's streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Everett, make it happen.
Okay. And Dave, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow?
After watching Drake play a couple of matches on Titan, I just met Everett a couple weeks ago. Great guy. I think this one might go to Drake, and probably 1 match on Titan. We'll see where it goes.
Oh,
okay.
No faith.
Polar opposites here. Stan says 2-0 Aspiring Spike. Dave says 1-0 Drake's ass. I'm going to meet in the middle.
I'm going to pick the other outcome.
I'm going to say 1-1. And I'm going to think over the night. If I had to pick right now, I think Drake would get it, just simply because I think it's 2 bad matchups for Aspiring Spike, or even 1 even and 1 bad matchup. And I think that Spike can overcome 1 bad matchup, but not 2.
I'm telling you.
Plus, we saw Drake play masterfully tonight, but we also saw him keep a 1-lander with Amulet Titan. So we did see 1 very bad mulliganing mistake from Drake. If he does that again, Aspiring Spike will definitely capitalize. As someone who played both of them in this league, they will both punish you for any mistakes you make.
What does the winner of the tournament get?
A high five.
Pride. Yeah, pride.
A COVID-free high five. It's all pride. It's all pride. All the Twitch sub proceeds, all of that is going to charity. A21 is the charity of choice still, because Team Fire was the winning team that chose a charity. That is an anti-slave trafficking charity, global, worldwide, because Modern Streamers League does have players from all over the world. So definitely check them out, a21.org. Cancer Research Institute, it's actually above my head right now, is also Team ICE's charity of choice. Also a great, great charity. Check them out as well. If you have extra funds, definitely donate to those charities.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much for having us on, Mike. We had a really great time. Yeah.
One last I want you guys to plug yourselves. The Dive Down, where can people find you?
TheDiveDown.com, that's easy. We're on Twitter. If you want to engage with us, twitter.com/TheDiveDown.
Don't marry him, just engage.
Heck, YouTube.com/TheDiveDown if you want to watch our podcast with just like a single static image while we speak.
If you put The Dive Down into Google, our SEO is pretty good. You'll find us towards the top of the results there. So that's all you have to really remember. We're named after a card that we'll likely never see play in Modern, but occasionally sees play in Historic and Pioneer. Thinking forward.
Dave, Dave, I just checked our SEO. We're result number 1 for the dive down on Google.
There you go.
Look at that. We did it.
You
Mike,
did
we
it.
did it.
Stan is
so
an
proud of
SEO
you guys.
professional, so that helped some, I think. And
chat saying
like we mentioned,
you guys are top of my results. So
that's
Thanks,
so
man.
nice. Thanks, chat.
Chat also wants me to be a motivational speaker. So yes, DM me. I will be your life coach.
Reasonable rates, I hear, everybody.
I can't work due to COVID. So.
Oh, because of sales.
Yeah, we are. Massachusetts is reopening slowly, but sales calls are not a priority. So
Yeah.
what I sell, by the way, is energy efficiency products. So I'm saving the planet one small business, one big business, one industrial plant at a time by converting them to energy efficiency lighting.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So that's amazing.
No one really doesn't matter about upgrading those plants when their lights aren't on.
Yeah. Well, hey, I hope that everybody's hanging in there for those strange times, and that any modicum of entertainment and distraction that we as podcasters or streamers or league organizing impresarios can provide is something we're happy to do. And so hope everybody's hanging in there. And if you like hearing from Stan and I, check us out. Tune in tomorrow for the finals.
Yeah. And I will self-plug you guys. I like your podcast. I like it a lot.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
It's why I reached out to Shane.
We like your tournament too.
Yeah, it's a great tournament. I'm always really impressed with the level of finish and the organization and thinking that goes into these. So I appreciate. I really enjoyed the invitation, and so thanks for having me on. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you soon.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone for joining and for watching this evening. Modern Streamers League is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and by Card Hoarder. Which Card Hoarder I think I plugged a couple times there because that is where I buy all of my MTGO cards from. So thank you very much. Tune in tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the finals of this tournament. We do have the credits that will roll in a moment, along with the Remember the Fallen and a quick sneak peek at the championship match between Drake Sasser and Aspiring Spike. See you tomorrow night.